This is the new Jack Wolf Knives Vampire Jack. Fresh out of the gate, October 2022. Very apropos for the month, you know, as it is the scary month, the ghoulish month, the Halloween month, the Vampire Jack. So this is a coffin-handled jack. Coffin-handled jack is a swell-center jack. That means it swells out in the center, obviously, and then has these facets or chamfers at the end, making it reminiscent of a coffin. The swell center in the middle is not just to look cool, though it does look cool, and in my opinion, really adds a nice ergonomics to it, because your hand really locks in on either side of these of the swell center. So I really like the ergonomics, but it's also there for a special purpose. This portion of the handle, where it dips down, is to accommodate a spring that's right in that little area that is below the main line of the inner liner there. And it's a threaded barrel. On this particular knife, it's a threaded barrel and a pin through, or a screw through there, holding that lock bar in. And that little dip allows the whole area in here, the whole blade channel in there, to be free to accommodate the blade. Does that am I making sense? I know that makes sense. I'm not sure if I'm communicating it properly, but having this dip down and having the screw there allows there to be more room in the blade channel to accommodate more blade further in. See how that nestles in so nicely? So swell center jack looks cool, feels good, and also has a real purpose. Allows you to pack more blade in there. Just as a matter of example, I have this Great Eastern Cutlery. I don't even remember what number this is. It's a big one, 97. Such a cool knife. This is a swell center also. You see it pops out a little bit. It's not a coffin handle, but it's a swell center to allow that big blade in there. The problem with this one, I love this knife, but it's so soft. The open is so soft. You're not going to get that with a Jack Wolf knife, and definitely not the Vampire Jack, which has a very stout pull and excellent walk and talk. I don't know. On my completely arbitrary numeric scale, I would put it at an 8. 10 being like breaking your fingernail using the nail nick. So 8. This is where I like it. I like it real stiff like that, because you know it's not gonna fold on you in regular use. And actually, even this, which has a weak spring, you know it's not gonna fold on you in regular use, because regular use dictates that you push against the lock. But in any case, it does give not only confidence in use, but if you're using the tip for something, and if you're using the knife in a non-slicing or push-cutting way, that lock and the stiffness of that lock does become important. This, I would not feel confident at all doing that kind of stuff. This, for me, is total collector piece. I wish there was some way for me to make this really stout, because this would be a cool one to carry around. But in any case, with this, if you needed to drill little holes with it, if you need to do anything like that with the point, go into a really stout clamshell package where it could go either way. You don't want it to go either way. So this stout spring is great. Not only that, but it stays in the half position nicely too. If it does close and it gets to that half position, it's not going to overshoot and hit your fingers. Anyway, that is my anecdotal experience. Now, something really cool about this is you have that nail nick, and due to the shape of the handle and the small amount of blade poking up above it, because you got that swell center, the question is where to put the nail nick. And he found a perfect little spot right on that hill to put the nail nick. It's perfect placement. If it were forward and centered in the middle of that swale, it would be perhaps a little easier to get to, but it would look funky to have that way down there. And looks are a part of it. So it's right where it needs to be, and it's useful. Here's the thing. I feel like on all of these Jackwolf knives, with the exception of the Benny's clip, you could eliminate the nail nick altogether because it's a full height hollow grind. That means the hollow grind is terminating at the spine. So before you get to the spine, you have that curved, my hands are so dry, my apologies. You have that curved surface where your fingers can find purchase to pull it open. All of these knives, all these Jackwolf knives are definitely pinchable, as they say, pinchable. Okay, so we're talking about this nice, slender drop point blade, spear point blade, sorry. But it also looks rather daggery to me because it's nice and slender. I know daggers have been on my mind. I've been collecting daggers and bowies recently, but this one really does look equal on the top and on the bottom. To me, this really does look like a dagger. You have that really nice swedge cut into the top there, making it a little bit more slender at the tip. You have, this is M390 blade steel, and which is a great blade steel for the kind of knife that you don't really want to sharpen often. And if this is a little in the pocket EDC and you're busting it out to use it all the time because you can't, in good conscience, bring this out in front of the sheeple, well, you're going to want something that's going to perform every time. And M390, that's very thinly ground and very sharp, is going to perform every time. You're not going to have to bring this back to the wheel to get an edge on it. But if you do, with any sort of, well, if you do, it's going to take a long time to get to the top of that sharpening notch. And really, this blade is so thin that I'm fully confident that if you did sharpen this, you know, time after time, and you got to the point where you were all the way up at the top of that sharpening notch, it would still be thin enough behind the edge to have a really, really nice geometry, cutting geometry. And that's the case with all of these Jackwolves. I'll pull the rest out in a minute to show them off. But they're so thin, they're so hollow and thin that I have no doubt that if you sharpen this, look at that, it's like a straight razor. If you sharpened it for the life of the knife and you got to the top of that notch, it would still be thinner than most of the knives in my collection behind the edge. Beautiful walk and talk, as I mentioned before, just like very pleasing to open. The haptics on this, the ergos, the haptics. I don't know if that's proper use of that term, but I'm going to use it right here because it sounds cool. So that spring, what's that? Is that hafted? Is that the right term? Anyway, it's nicely, everything integrated together. It's like one solid piece. Even where the blade meets the spring, it's barely, you can barely see that seam. And you can barely feel it. And now another slip joint guy thing is a flush spring on the half stop. And, you know, this has it all. They all have it. All the Jackwolf knives have it beautifully. I mean, that is as flat as the day is long. Very, very pleasing. The scales, these beautiful scales with the purple carbon fiber. I brought them out into the sun yesterday. We've had some beautiful weather here in Virginia recently, and I took this out into the sun and made a little short because that purple was just, it's very subtle, but when you get a nice light on it, it comes out, and it's, I don't know, to me, it makes it kind of special that way. You got the nice fluted bolsters with the blasted titanium, so nice. And that titanium is integral to the liners. That's all one piece with a notch cut out. And then all of the fastening hardware is under this scale, and then the scale is put on with these two screws, like a traditional modern custom knife, you know, where the scales hide all of the screws and such. Really beautiful knife. All right, I'm going to show this off with some other knives. Now, just for size comparison, the usual kind of size comparison in the realm of knives that a lot of us collect. Here it is with the usual, the PM2 and the and a 3-inch. In this case, the Ritter Hogue. So it's a pretty nicely sized knife. I really like the 3-inch blade. I like the larger size slip joint, especially because, like all Jack Wolf knives, it comes with this really cool case, really nice case, and each one starts to take on the character of the knife inside. Actually, I mixed them up by accident, and it took me a while to get them all back into the right slips. I'm kind of anal about that. But this starts to take on the shape, and also this beautiful leather material it's not so slick that it slips around in your pocket. So it does keep the knife oriented north to south in pocket, which is also something that's kind of necessary if I'm going to actually be carrying around a slip joint. That's why I carry them in these pouches. And, before I got the Jack Wolves, I carried my GECs in leather pouches, but these are the texture of them are so nice. They don't slide around. So I really like these. Why did I get onto that? Not sure. Oh, the large size. So this is a pretty large slip joint at 3 inches, but being in the Jack Wolf knife case keeps it nicely positioned. Sorry, I need a little coffee. All right, a couple of other comparisons in the slip joint world outside of Jack Wolf knives. Here it is with the Medford Gentleman Jack. This was a gift from the Medford company a few years back. This was before they learned about action, and I have a pretty good idea how they learned about how to make good action, but I don't know if I'm allowed to tell. So this has a very weak spring, and just, but very nicely made in every other regard. Here it is with the number 15, a pretty common, the boy's knife, a pretty common size Great Eastern cutlery. All right, nice walk and talk on this. I love those Great Eastern cutleries. Two more from the somewhat pedestrian slip joint world, and that is not an insult, but these are knives you can find in stores. Here it is with the standard size Swiss Army knife, and with the Trapper. Trapper is such a common model of slip joint knife, whether it's like case knives or Winchester or whoever. Everyone makes a Trapper, and they're always about that size. So a little bit smaller than the Trapper, which is good, in my opinion. I love you, Dad. All right, now let me show it off with these other awesome Jack Wolf knives. Here it is I will go in reverse chronology, reverse order. Here it is with the Benny's clip. Man, that's a nice knife. And the Canine Jack, dog leg. Love that thing. I didn't think I would. I never liked the look of dog legs, and so I never had one. And then I got this one in hand. Oh, I get it. And plus, I love that big teardrop spear point blade. It is a beaut. And Ben Belkin of Jack Wolf Knives has really been another person to help convert me over to the carbon fiber side, because all the carbon fibers that I've seen on the Jack Wolf knives, including the Lava Flow, of which I have none, but I have this, and I have some Arctic Storm. It's just beautiful stuff. This was the very first one. I've blown the chronology at this point. That's the Sharpshooter. Here is love this one. This is the laid back Jack, the sway back. Here's the boy's knife, the little bro. Beautiful knife. This is the one that had a blade wrap issue, but I think that's in the works to be fixed. I've sharpened mine out a bit. I carry this thing all the time. I love this knife because this is actually my preferred size for a slip joint. Like, all things equal, I prefer this size. And then lastly, this one got a lot of use. I was doing a lot of work around this room that required this style of knife, or this type of blade, when I got this. So this thing got a lot of use. Beautiful knife. What is this one? This is the I'll remember. But anyway, here it is, the Vampire Jack, new for October 2022. I was just perusing the websites, and they are available. Check out go to Jack Wolf Knives website and go to their dealers, their authorized dealers page. Man, they have such a great roster of purveyors selling the Jack Wolf knives, and there are some available. I mean, these just dropped 2 days ago, so go check it out. Do yourself a favor. This one for sure is amazing, and I know it's not that kind of knife, but it feels good this way too. Of course, you would do this against the spring. All right, anyway, sorry I had to inject that. This is the very cool Vampire Jack, and check it out before Halloween.